Yep.
Meeting will come to order.
Excuse me, everyone.
Before we get to our official business, I'd like to take a few minutes to thank our former member, Mark Knox, who unfortunately resigned this past week.
Excuse me.
Can you turn on your microphones? We can't hear you, so we're talking.
All right, I'll try and do better. All right,
You have a microphone. You turn it on?
well,
It's
for
is
recording
on.
purposes.
It's
for recording
It's not for
purposes.
the room, it's for the
Yeah.
recording.
It's
and,
not a
the
loudspeaker.
Facebook.
okay, anyway, again, I'd like to thank Mark Knox for his service over the years. We'll certainly miss his expertise.
Can you speak up? We really can't hear you.
All right, I'm sorry.
Do you want me to speak for you? You can hear me. I do it very well. I'm good.
Good.
Yeah, so I expect the same in return.
I expected you to behave yourself.
I am. I'm asking you to speak in a manner where people back here can hear you.
All right.
That's only respectful.
Let's move on to business.
Thank you. Oh, good. You spoke about it. That's polite. I said thank you.
It's not the way I was treated when I was growing up. Anyway, first on the first item is the member resignation. I just covered Mark Knox's departure, and we have two new members that we voted on last time, and then unfortunately they're not going to be here tonight, but they will start at our next meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
they were appointed by the Board of Selectmen tonight, a full member and an associate member. We've been missing a member for a long time. And Michelle Bouchard is our full member, and Brian Anderson will be our associate member. And they will be sworn in and start next week,
All right. Good.
or next meeting, not next week,
The next meeting.
the 23rd.
And did you make your announcement about using the microphone or?
Oh, no, I didn't. Is anyone else recording tonight? We are being recorded by LakeCAM. Actually, we didn't even go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Nancy Yates.
Joseph Chamberlain.
Bob Bouchard, Chairman.
John LeBlanc.
Joshua Faraday.
Very
We're
good.
being recorded by LakeCAM. Is anyone else here recording? Okay, thank you.
All right. Let's move on then. We covered the first two. Is 310 Kenneth Welch Drive. This is a notice of intent filed by Goddard Engineering, excuse me.
Everyone see something over here?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. For the record, this is Andrew Tebow with Goddard Consulting. First and foremost, I want to simultaneously thank and apologize to the commission. I know this project has been through a number of continuances and a lot of internal work on our side that was waiting on the commission, so you guys have shown us a lot of patience, and we do appreciate that. This is expected to be the last continuance that we would have needed. So when I was here last with you guys, this was back earlier in the winter, we had gone through the peer review of the wetland delineation with Ecosystem Solutions, and we had made some revisions to the riverfront delineation on the site. I had come over the winter to let you guys know that that site survey was underway, but it took some time to coordinate it. I'm happy to say now that that site survey was completed, and we have a fully resurveyed site that has been added to the site plan. I submitted digital copies of that site plan today. There's currently 9 sets printing overnight. Our printer is taking its time, but those are coming to the commission tomorrow. And so now what we have is the same site plan that you guys have been seeing for the site, but with an updated delineation that changes the numbers of where the work falls within the riverfront area. So the project has remained the same as far as the restructuring of the parking outside of the buffer zone and outside of riverfront area, and the proposed much needed expansive parking within the riverfront area. So what we have shown here on this revised site plan is a new riverfront area line that you'll see in purple here. This is a result of the resurvey, 200 feet off of that line. So we have calculated the final encroachment into the riverfront area for this project at 23,855 square feet. That number was important for us to get before moving any further because we are already past the 10% threshold on this site, which means any encroachment that we have into the riverfront area, we need to mitigate at a 2-to-1 ratio. So once that site survey came back, what we had been doing is going out to the site and mapping out areas on the site that are in need of such restoration, whether that be dense invasive species cover, debris, degraded surfaces, those kinds of areas. And so you'll see those shown in red all along the site. This is primarily dense invasive species cover. The site has Oriental bittersweet, multiflora rose, autumn olive, construction debris, concrete, very typical of what you'd see on a construction industrial site. And so what we were able to calculate on this plan here is that there's about 48,207 square feet of area that can be restored on this site. Now that would put us just over the 2-to-1, meaning that we will be able to meet riverfront standards for the proposed parking lot that we see here. A full kind of invasive species management plan with plantings will be coming to you guys. This was a sort of in the background over the last week, figuring out if we had the square footage that we would need on the site. My expectation is that before the next meeting that you guys would get the hard copies of the site plans, as well as a full invasive species management plan, planting plan catered to the site to meet this criteria. But what we have finally kind of gotten to the point now is that we had already been mitigating our wetland replication about 1.5-to-1, so that was already going to meet the standards. We had stayed out of floodplain, but we were waiting on those riverfront area numbers to come back to make sure that we were able to meet that 2-to-1 and that such a site could be restored in an area that it truthfully needs. So those numbers have come back to us now, so these site plans will be coming to you guys, and then an invasive species management plan will follow. But I'm here if you guys have any questions in the interim on that.
So you're gonna need one more continuance?
We will be attending this meeting, though. We will not be, no more no-shows. We
You
will be
expect to have
attending.
everything?
I do, with at least a week in advance. Our goal was, rather than
We're
shoot
2
you guys
weeks out
something
from our
today.
next meeting, so.
Exactly, rather than shoot you guys a plan today and then
Okay.
pretend you guys have time to read it, we want to give it to you in advance, kind of have time to digest it.
Yeah.
But I felt it fit to let you guys know everything that's gone on in the background leading up to this point.
We appreciate you being here. Actually, we should be having a celebration.
You and me both, I know. No, we do appreciate the patience very much.
Well, I wasn't that patient, but there you go.
Well, you can yell at me behind the scenes if you need to. I fully understand.
Okay, great, there's no.
It's moving.
Yeah.
Yahoo!
Okay.
It's moving and there will be no more no-shows. We have a lot of progress here. The survey's done, so now it's just on me to
Alright.
keep getting you guys the documents.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so then I make a motion that we continue 310 Kenneth Welsh Drive. It's been so long, I don't know what the DEP number is. 192,
891.
891.
891. Until, April 23rd at 7 PM.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? In that case, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming.
Nine Cross Street?
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, no, I'm sorry.
No, good, thank you.
So 9 Cross Street, this is a notice of intent by Zenith Consulting Engineers for a long list of things, which was continued at our last meeting. We have-
Consulting engineers, we're requesting another continuance on this one. We received comments from the review engineer, and we're working on making the revisions to the plans.
And how's the timing look? When do you think you'd be able to?
I do not know myself. I can,
Should we do it for 2 weeks or you think a month?
I have a couple questions first.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
From quickly looking at the peer review, because I really haven't had a lot of time to even think about what a motion would look like if we were gonna approve it, but it looks like you were at 4,900 square feet of fill, and with the wetland flags that were moved, if that's gonna be over 49, if it's gonna be over 5,000, we can't do that. This commission can't, approve that, it would have to go to DEP. So, it would be good to get that squared away so that we know, we can continue it for 2 weeks, but it's kind of looking like it might.
Our Brandon is here. Brandon, is that why you're here?
I was asked to come, yes.
Oh, so maybe we should have our peer review consultant
Okay.
speak to the
I don't
project.
know if I didn't recognize you. Come on up.
Cheap seat.
I know you got regular people clothes, no boots?
Not today, not today.
Good call.
Give me again.
He recognizes me.
Nice to see you again.
To see you too.
All right, just for the record, this is our consultant from this project.
I'm Welsh.
Whenever you're ready.
So, well, I saw you were looking at the report earlier.
How was
Are
it?
there any questions you have? Or would you like me to just to give you a synopsis?
Both. Why don't you start with the synopsis? Yeah.
All right, well, I guess the big ticket item here is the wetland boundary, because they are so close to the 5,000 square foot threshold, right? There's like 4850 or something like that. I have it right here in front of me. I should probably read my own report, right? Right, so they have 4894 square feet of fill, so it doesn't give them a lot of wiggle room. And when I was out there, the wetland boundary along the street is pretty straightforward. It's right at the toe of, the slope of the shoulder of the road, right? That one's a no-brainer. And the slope, the side's very flat, right? And you get to the back end and the grade starts to come up a little bit. And I didn't agree 100% with the wetland boundary, and specifically in the area where the driveway crossing is, right? So I put up some of my own flags. I did my own transect in my own little plot to justify my work where I was on site, in case anybody has any questions, because once, you get over 5,000 square feet, things can get a little testy. So I made sure to document all that, and so I recommended some adjustments, which are laid out in the report, and I also sent a redlined site plan showing Zenith where the changes are, approximately, and where my flags were, so they could go out and locate those flags, the flags that I put up on your behalf. And I have yet to see any revised plan on that, so I don't know if they're over 5,000 square feet yet.
All right, and that's why that's why they're asking for a continuance, but I did want to bring up the 5,000 square foot.
Yeah, oh,
Issue.
absolutely, it's a big issue, right? So, that said, I don't know if I agree with you on the Conservation Commission can't move forward, it has to go to DEP. Once you go to
okay.
5,000 square feet.
Okay,
So if it goes over, under 5,000 square feet, the Conservation Commission has carte blanche to approve anything in a BBW as long as they're doing at least 1-to-1 ratio replication, and you're satisfied that there are no other alternatives and that there will not be adverse impact to the wetland resource, right? So that's up to you. But once you hit 5,000 square feet, you have to go to a section of the regulations, 310 CMR 10.53, which is the limited projects section, okay? And single family house driveway crossings fall under that section, right? So basically, once you get over 5,000 square feet, there are only a limited number of project types, I think that's why they call it limited projects, that can even be allowed to happen. And a driveway crossing of the minimum acceptable width to the planning board may be accepted, right? That said, once you hit that 5,000 square foot threshold, there's a lot of other permitting requirements, including, but not necessarily limited to, water quality certification with DEP directly. So they have to go get a section 401 water quality certification. They have to go to the Army Corps of Engineers for a permit. And also they have to file with the MEPA folks, at least an environmental notification form. So instead of one permit, you now have to get 4 at a minimum. And it's as you can probably tell, it gets to be quite an endeavor. So the Conservation Commission would still have responsibility for the review. You still have the ability to approve or deny, but it's now one of those situations where it's completely out of your hands. It's more like they have to also go to DEP for water quality certification at the same time.
right, okay.
So we could approve it here and make it
Right, and they could deny it over there.
Okay.
Or you could deny it here and they could prove it
Vice
there.
versa.
One denial means they can't do it.
Okay.
Right? Along with that, however, regardless of the 5,000 square foot threshold or not, there's an alternatives analysis required. And in that, I noticed in their, the applicant's report, they said that there were no other means of ingress or egress onto the property. There's no other way in or out. This is the only way to get in and out. So that's for you to decide whether or not you agree. When I was out there, it looks like they're pretty much surrounded by wetlands, right? So take that as you will.
Very marked,
It's very wet out there, right? It's pretty flat, it's very wet. Also, and this is kind of where the water quality certification regulations and the wetland regulations kind of cross over each other. Not only does it get complicated when you hit 5,000 square feet, but it gets even more complicated when there's been a subdivision of land. And I was doing my research on this and looking back at the old Lakeville tax assessor's plat maps. This property has been cut off and redivided from other properties in the last 10 years, okay? So when that happens, the water quality certification regulations require a deed restriction, saying that basically it memorializes that you have used so many square feet of BVW fill for this original property, and that you have 5,000 square feet to work with, but you've already used so many square feet and you can't go over 5,000 square feet. And that is then memorialized in all of the deeds for all the subdivided properties. The whole idea is you don't want to do a workaround, kind of a loophole where you just keep on subdividing properties and say, oh, we have 5,000 square feet for each one of these subdivided properties. No, that's not how it works. It's that original piece.
Oh.
You get 5,000 square feet, and if you subdivide it anymore, you're still limited to that original 5,000
For
square
all the
feet.
lots.
For all the lots
Right.
that's subdivided.
Yep,
It's good to know.
So do we know how many lots were subdivided out of this original piece?
And it looks like, I had the map in front of me, at least, it's now at least 2 lots, if not 3. So my report goes on to say, knowing that, I think you should require an affidavit from the applicant saying that in the past, a lot of lots that it was attached to recently, and we're talking like in the last 10 years or so, that there wasn't any approved BVW fill, because we need to know that, right? Because they might already be over the 5,000 square feet and you just don't know it. Or was there any illegal filling of the BVW that is still not resolved?
Now, what if, it's obviously all different owners now. How would
That
we
problem
track
goes with the land and not the people.
that? Right, so we should be able to see if anybody's filled wetland legally in our records, right? For whatever abutting properties there are, or whatever's part of that original piece.
Right, and
Did you identify the addresses by any chance?
I did, I got them by map and lot.
Okay, we
Yeah.
can check it out.
Yeah, so you can probably do a cross-reference search here.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's Lakeville parcel data obtained from Mass GIS show that it was subdivided sometime between 2014 and 2019, changing from parcel ID 021-003-012
oh, say that again, 021,
dash 003-012.
okay. It's map block and lot, right?
Yeah, to, all right, let's do it that way.
Yep,
Map 21, block 3,
Yeah.
lot 12-2.
ooh, okay,
Right, so that presumes that there's still a 12-1 or just 12 still, right? So I wanted to point that out to you. All right, so maybe that's the one you do a little research on and see if you have anything in your files regarding previous BVW fill on that one. And that's just the way you're supposed to do it.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. So regardless, there should be, let's say that you find out, no, nothing was going on with that original lot and they're still under 5,000 square feet. I still recommend that you, at a minimum, memorialize that in special conditions, in your order of conditions. And I wouldn't rule out requiring a deed restriction anyway, as a condition of obtaining the permit.
I think that had been my
Yeah.
first thought anyway.
Yeah, and the Mass DEP comments were very similar to
Yeah,
that as well.
I read that.
Yeah. And then I have a punch list here, of things I recommend and don't recommend, on pages 4 and 5. So, I don't know if you want me to go through them, but, I mean, if you have any questions, I'll answer.
I got an item on page 2, and I have a sticky for you.
The soils?
Oh, yeah.
Here's your sticky.
Oh, okay.
Oops, this is Joe.
Right here. I'll show you where it is.
Oh, he's our
Oh, I
English.
wrote will instead of with, yes, that, I noticed that. as
He's
I
our
was-
English teacher.
I have to do at least one per document. Remember.
I can't even say on the keyboard that like T and L are even close to each other, so that's on me.
Remember the
Mr.
classic
Chairman,
line?
I'm sorry,
through
When
you.
in doubt, flag it out. But
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, among
Um,
other things.
On page 2, my other concern, according to soil mapping, there are no well-drained soils on site.
True,
just read
the
that.
most well-drained soil you have on site is a Deerfield loamy sand, which is moderately well-drained. They tend to have water tables in the plus or minus 18-inch range.
So is that gonna be a very expensive septic system, I guess? And just adding on to all these other things, I'm just
Is there a
wondering.
lot of like peat and muck associations there, or what's
In the wetlands, there is.
Bridgewater series?
In the upland, there's no muck, it's just it's sandy, but you have a seasonally high water table.
Right now, it's everywhere.
You tell me about it. Causing me a lot of job security.
Will, have you and Zena seen this letter from Brandon? Okay.
Yeah.
And you need time to address it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why they're asking for a continuance. Anybody
Brandon, thank
else?
you for coming down.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
My pleasure. And,
Nice job.
should I, no, that's a different public hearing. I'll talk to Mr. Tebow. Okay. Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
good, thank you.
Will, is 2 weeks enough for you?
I'm gonna have to talk to Julie about this one.
Well, let's,
You can get back to us.
let's give you 2, and then if you need more, you let us know.
Let us
Okay.
know. All right.
I'll make a motion to continue to the April 23rd hearing at 7 PM.
You have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night.
Good night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
All right, 2 Bedford Street. Oh, thank you.
Thought it was right, but just wanted to check.
Let me see. Can't leave just the names. Hi, David.
It's one of those words that even if you spell it wrong, everyone
So
knows
it's
what
in
you
his,
mean anyway.
it's in his report,
It's in the
so.
report,
All
yeah.
right,
Okay.
thanks, Joe.
All right, next, number 2 Bedford Street. This is a notice of intent, again by Zenith Consulting. And it was continued at our last meeting. You're on again.
Will Connolly, Zenith Consulting Engineers. We are going to be requesting another continuance
No,
on this one as well.
you broke your record.
Yep.
2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
I'll make a motion to continue 2 Bedford Street to our April 23rd hearing at 7 PM.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
On a roll.
And you gave us a new plan. Or is that for something different?
That's for something else.
22. Oh, that's for 22, okay.
All set?
Yep,
Okay, number 6, off Freetown Street. This is an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, this time by Outback Engineering. Good evening.
Give me twice tonight. For the record, this is Andrew Tebow with Goddard Consulting. I understand that the site plan for this application had been shown to the commission previously, and Tom Schutz from our office had provided additional data to the commission on the stream status and any vernal information for the site. At this time, now that we're entering the spring growing season, we feel it's a great time to start peer review. So we are just here tonight to kick off that process and have the commission take a vote on peer reviewers so we can kick off that portion of the project.
okay, I looked into this. And, actually, I think I've come to the conclusion that maybe we should try to go out for a price from 2 different peer reviewers with the added on of how long is this going to give us an estimated time, give us the price and give us a time, because as you've seen, we just go on and on and on. So the 2 that I have in mind is Brandon that just left, and Andrew Gorman from Beals and Thomas, who did the last peer review over at LeBaron.
Yep.
So I'd like to go out and I'd like to make a motion that we go out to those 2, and the scope of work would include a peer review of all the resource areas, including FEMA things, natural heritage, and everything that you have given us in the resource areas.
Both of those sound great to us, so by all means, yes on our end.
I'll second that.
Go ahead. Motion and a second.
We have a question.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like to speak onto the engineer and the board.
Excuse me, not yet, please. The board all gets need to speak first, and then we will go out to the
But
audience.
before you vote, correct? Before
Yes,
you okay,
after a
just wanna make
first and a
sure.
second, and then we'll have discussion.
Yes, but wait a second, can I just ask a question on that?
No,
We're
No.
not allowed to ask questions?
no, not until the board is finished discussing, please. Go
I
ahead.
have comment about how are we gonna handle the approving of whichever peer review? You're going out for 2 quotes. I would be ready to make a recommendation on who I would prefer to do it tonight.
Okay,
I,
that's
my,
fine. Oh, I'm talking about, I would say we would make a to me, I thought we would decide on who could do it within a decent amount of time with all we've been going through lately. That's all. Well, if you have a preference, say it.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, there's no obligation for the commission to make sure this gets done in a timely manner in any way. If it's
True.
versus who we feel is more qualified to actually do the peer review.
Okay.
I do think that both of those people you mentioned are highly qualified and would both do a good job for the commission.
Do you have somebody else in mind?
No,
Oh.
I'm fine with either one
Okay.
of those.
Well, you want to do it tonight?
I just wanna know what the criteria of us deciding is.
So then can we at least ask what your time frame would be?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just delaying it another
Okay.
2 weeks just to make a decision.
Okay,
I mean,
right.
you guys are in the same realm as both of those engineers that do peer reviews. Do you feel that either one of those would give you an out of the ballpark time frame on doing a peer review?
I don't believe so. We work with both of them pretty frequently, often in this part of the state as well, and find them both to be, excellent peer reviewers, great wetland scientists, good timeline. So I would have no
Yeah.
concerns.
I
either
don't
way.
think either one of them is gonna come in 2 months ahead of the other one and, really make a difference in our mind.
okay,
We all share the
I'm
same
good.
fate this time of year for sure. So
Right, you're all as equally busy.
right.
a blessing and a
Um,
curse, as you know.
So
Yes.
go
Yeah,
for it,
my-
Josh. You know, you
um,
work with people a lot, so,
So
What
are
do
you
you
making a
think?
motion?
yeah.
You would have to rescind your motion. that
Okay, I
you
rescind
made.
my motion.
Okay, I would make a recommendation, or I'll make a motion that we use Brandon Funa from Ecosystem Solutions.
All right,
I'll second that.
you did an excellent job tonight.
Sounds great. That's fine by us. We know Brandon very well, and I think that'll be good for the project.
Okay,
Moving along. All right.
Do we have a second? Second.
Yep.
You have a motion and a second,
You
all
already
in
seconded.
Oh,
favor?
okay.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
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 done.
Perfect.
Oh,
There you go.
were we gonna?
We could take
People's-
comment from the public now.
Oh,
Comment
okay.
now.
Oh, I'm
And-
sorry.
Well,
Oops. I
public
know.
comment wouldn't really matter to
True.
the choosing of our
Okay.
peer review, so.
Sorry about that.
Can I now ask a question?
You wish to be?
Yep, if you'd come up to the table, please.
Oh, sure thing, I love being
And
noticed.
just identify yourself, please.
Sure. Hi, my name is Roberta Files. I live on 76 Freetown.
Great.
So I have an immense interest in this project. Sure. I have several questions because I have gone over all the data that I have been able to come across thus far, which, no offense, is minimal. I'm looking to get directed to where the archaeological survey that has been completed for this land is located, so it can be reviewed by the community. Has an archaeological survey been done?
So I can answer any of your questions right now as well as the wetland scientist on this project. So the
Sure.
application that we have forward here is only for an ANRAD application. What that essentially means is that it's one of like the pre-phases to any sort of a development project, which means that we flag the wetlands on the site. You know, we say we think this is where the wetlands are, where the river is, and then we bring that site plan to the commission and we get a peer reviewer on board who is essentially a independent third party who has no ties to the project to independently review our line before any sort of kind of planning or actual project would come before the commission. So at this point, it's just as simple as we flag the wetlands and we're gonna go look at it with now Brandon Fanoff from Ecosystem Solutions. So there would be no studies beyond that scope done so far.
Okay, so that information, but is there gonna be an archaeological survey requested? This land was cited by Cora Purse as being very sensitive to the Wampanoag and Narragansett tribes, as having sacred tribal stones, and I just wanna get the words correctly, petroglyphs and other sacred objects on this land. So it would seem to me it would behoove all of us, including our Native American ancestors, to have an archaeological survey done on this land to verify what and where is there.
I would think that would be more in the line of the zoning board of appeals. Our job only is to verify where the wetlands are.
But isn't just the definition of the word to conserve? Conservation is to
Not with
conserve.
Historic.
We uphold the law,
Right, we
the Wetlands
identify,
Protection Act.
Okay, so then can I go to another question? So that is not for this board, is what you're saying? Okay, then I have another question. Can you direct me to any studies that were done in regards to the well of 48,000 gallons per day, which would come out of the aquifer of the area, which would be wetlands protection? Because I did review the septic design is for 444 bedrooms, which at 110 gallons per day, that's what Title V indicates, that's 48,840 gallons of waste. Just a common rule of thumb, what goes out must come in.
And the minute you say Title V, now you're talking Board of Health.
Right, but I'm not talking about the septic. That's why I said, I'm just saying got the 48,000 gallons per day of water based on the design of the septic. If they have to base a septic on 48,000 gallons going out, that means 48,000 gallons coming in. Because
Right, but
it comes from somewhere.
That's not our purview either.
But that's the aquifer, and how do we protect the wetlands, the vernal pools, and the area wells? We drink from that water that will be draining.
This is not our purview either, but if you let me finish, I don't think it's been identified yet. In fact, I'm just about positive it hasn't been identified yet where the water's coming from.
Oh,
this
no, it says
project.
right on the plans, it says well. I don't believe you drew them up, did you?
No, I'm the wetland scientist.
Oh, okay, I can show you the plan, I have it
Oh,
here.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's on there.
But at the
No,
same
it says
time,
well.
Mr. Chair, through you.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
We are reviewing an application that determines the wetland resource delineation. That is the only thing that has been supplied to us in the application, and that is the only thing we are reviewing
And the
right now.
location of the well on the plans is in the wetlands.
So I can speak to that through the chair. So this application here, if a development were to come forward for the site, a subsequent application would be filed to the Conservation Commission it would be a notice of intent application at that time, which would then include the full scope of the project, any work within 100 feet of the wetlands. So the questions that you have now, if that was within 100 feet of the wetlands, would be within their purview as far as that goes, but that type of application is not yet before the commission. If that were to be designed and filed, you guys would have the same abutter notification process that you would receive from the ANRAD. You would know about that in advance, then have the opportunity to come and speak at that time. But at this time, the commission isn't looking at the plan set that you're talking about now, just because it's only a wetland line review at this point.
Right. And
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm understanding and everybody is understanding, and please make sure. So all we are here discussing today is just a little squiggly line on a map that says where wetlands are, not the
Quite an
items that are gonna.
extensive, it's quite an extensive wetland
Yeah, and
area.
I mean, that entire area is soaking, wringing wet. Our
yeah.
street goes underwater in the slightest of rain. That, I mean, you can walk by the land, I don't know if you ever have. It is soaking, wringing wet. People's basements are flooded. The street becomes, in the winter, I don't know if you've been on that street in the winter, it becomes a legitimate ice skating rink.
The Conservation
legitimate-
Commission tonight is doing their due diligence by, even better than I suggested, was what he suggested is we did it tonight. We have identified a very competent wetland peer reviewer to come in and make sure that what has been submitted is correct.
Can I ask a question about the engineer that you have submitted for peer review?
He was just sitting here tonight.
Right, I know, but he seems to be awfully affiliated with everybody here. How is that independent?
Well, they all work, they are
all
all
work
in the
in the
same
same
business.
I work in real estate, it doesn't mean I know every realtor on the planet.
You probably
Does he
know quite a
just do
few
Peer reviews?
in your area.
What? Does he just do peer reviews?
No, he does everything, but
But it's challenging. We don't, with the good old boys network, we see what happens, and we don't like to know that that could be happening on very environmentally sensitive land that I thought it was your job to protect.
it is our job to protect it.
And it doesn't come across
Well,
that way.
let me-
Excuse me for saying, but if you talk to all of us, it doesn't come across that you're doing anything to protect it.
So we just okayed a private, independent engineer. What would you have us do?
Go out for bids and get them out of the area, somebody that hasn't
Why
been
would
here
you want
before.
somebody out of the area that's not familiar with the land?
Because he's
coming?
also not familiar with the developer.
The developer shouldn't have.
Through the
it.
chair, if I
The-
may, I would recommend that we use peer reviewers from this area. The Southeast Massachusetts has a very high water table in different soils, and it helps to have scientists who are from around here. I can say that I worked with this scientist on peer review projects before, and it's a very independent review. Not to mention that all applications go through the state as well. And so when an application, this notice of intent that we speak that would follow this application, would go to the state. And so it's not just the town looking at it and voting themselves, it gets vetted up and down through the state. So there's multiple levels to this. It's not just through the town, and at this point now, so we are a private independent consulting firm. So we take a site and we do our own assessment. We go out there and we test all the soils, vegetation. We hang our own wetland line, and that's before we ever see a project on the site. So we identify that just as we think it's out there. But because we are a private firm, the safest way to do it is to then hire a third party to then walk the entire line and get their own opinion. That way there's two separate opinions on the line out there. And so that's kind of the process that we're vetting at this point now.
And if you're so interested in how well we're doing protecting the wetland, then I would advise people to come when we're really making the decision. When it's done and the peer review's done and he's here explaining us and we make a decision, when we're trying to protect the wetland area, that you come back us up. That's what I would suggest.
Okay, can I make a comment to that one? Thank you for bringing that up. Do you know how I found out about this project going on my street? Because the town notifies the most minimal people it's required to by law. I found out about it on Facebook. Not from the town, and I live on the street.
And I have to say that's off topic. I'm not sure.
But no,
why-
but she just said for me to start coming to the meetings about it. And so where you brought up the topic, that gave me the opportunity to answer it. You brought it up, asked and answered.
But
So
now
that
you're
was on
here.
topic.
But now you're here.
But, I'm here.
And then let's go forward. You're here, and then you just saw when we continued it to, so you will know. We don't ever have a meeting that this is here now. Every time we continue it to a site specific or a time specific is what we have to do. So you will know from now on, every time it comes to us, if we continue it or we make any kind of a decision, it will happen, hopefully here. We don't always meet at the police station, but it's always posted where it will be on the town website.
But in fairness, because you brought up the topic, if somebody wasn't looking for it, that didn't decide to go one day to the town website, we would never have been aware.
so
So that's what I'm saying.
So
When the
nobody here
street
was notified as an abutter?
I'm in a butter, I live on the street and I was
Well,
not notified.
There are laws as far as,
That's what I
The
said.
abutters
So they
are.
noticed the most minimalistic.
Well,
Acting
they-
like a
they-
subdivision with 600 cars are gonna be dumping in, doesn't affect people. I am literally 57 feet over the required abutted notification list. But you don't think 600 cars is gonna affect my
how many
driveway?
abutters were notified, do we know?
49.
Not enough. Thank you.
So,
For me to find out about it,
So
living on
where-
the street. Do you know what, I'm asking a question since it was brought up. Where I live, do you know how long it takes me to get out of my driveway in the morning, as it is currently? About 10 minutes. You add 600 cars to that. What do you think that's gonna do? And for you to say that I shouldn't have been notified, it has a direct impact
All
on
I'm
me.
saying is, we're legally required to, not us, the developer is legally required to notify abutters within a certain range. They did that.
It's three,
Whether they got your house or not,
it's 300 feet.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. It's 100 feet through the Wetlands Protection Act. A lot of your concerns are not being addressed by this commission. I understand your concerns and I really feel for you. It's not the time that we're reviewing that application to address them.
Okay.
And a lot of it isn't this commission.
Okay,
And I understand your concern for our inability to do more.
yes,
The 3 times that we have brought a wetland protection bylaw to the town, it's been voted down.
okay.
Our ability to do more than what is the Wetlands Protection Act is effectuated in a bylaw that
Okay,
the town has voted down 3 times.
When was that voted on?
yes.
Nancy, when were,
2005, 2011, I did it when I was a selectman. Brought the
right.
bylaw
So-
to town meeting
No,
3 times.
it's a fair
It was
question.
voted down.
And we are restricted by the Wetlands Protection Act currently.
Okay,
The minimum requirement for notifying abutters is 100 feet. They met the standards of
Of
the
the wetlands,
application.
not the project, you're saying, right?
Right.
Of the project
Of the
locus,
Project.
The whole project?
Whole project.
right? Would you agree? And would you agree that's what was done?
Yeah, it's from the external property boundary 100 feet out, and we have to get a certified abutters list from the assessor's
From
office.
the
Let me-
town.
So it has to come through the town, it can't come through us.
no, I understand where it comes from, that I was not disputing, anybody can actually
Excuse
look.
me, I'd like to speak.
Oh, sorry,
We have 2 people that have been waiting patiently to speak, so I'd like to give them a chance.
sure.
Yes, sir, thank you.
You have to
You
come
need
up
to come up
and
to the
identify
microphone.
yourself, please.
identify yourself.
After, I apologize for all of our passion, okay, because,
You need to identify
oh,
yourself.
I'm sorry, Charlene Conway, I live on Freetown, off of Freetown Street in Hidden Hollow on Brookstone Drive Road. So the street for me that's projected is literally 25 feet from my exit of my street. So I'm a little bit closer than Bobby. But we are all in the new awareness phase of this. We are absolutely bowled over with this project. So this is only the beginning. So we haven't really met as a group yet. We've been chatting through Facebook. But I have to tell you, this is only the beginning of a very heated situation because you're going to see more and more people come out and speak to this. And unfortunately, it's all new to us and we're in total shock that this project has even gotten to this point. And this developer has triple paid for this land that's supposedly not buildable on because of all the factors that you've been speaking of. So, out
Can
of
I interrupt at this point and say, why do you say that the land is supposedly undevelopable?
It
Well-
always has been.
because of what you,
Means nothing. It really does. We don't even have the permission. You can't come to the Conservation Commission and say, oh, we hear this all the time. Oh, that land's supposedly always been there. Yeah.
Right, we haven't seen
but
the perk test.
I'm not really saying that. I'm saying when you look at the overall spectrum of this
We
project.
understand it's a difficult
Okay,
piece of
I'm
property.
referring to that,
But
okay?
again, as
No, no,
Josh
it's-
said, we're only talking right now that what we
I
have
appreciate
jurisdiction
that.
over is just the wetlands borders. This is
I
all we're
totally,
talking
sir,
about.
I totally appreciate that. That's not, I'm here in defense of how we're handling this, out of our passion, okay? So, I'm just saying that we need to educate ourselves and understand how all of this is, the process is, the protocol, and the proper protocol, and the conduct of order in meetings and so forth and so on. So because we're also passionate about this, because we are very, very concerned citizens, and I myself are embarrassed at the fact that I've lived in this town for 20 years, and I really haven't come to any of these meetings, honestly. Now it's like this huge development that's
This is
been
what gets
proposed.
people involved when there's a threat
Well,
to your.
yeah, and
ownership.
unfortunately, that's what you've got, okay? So I do, apologize for us. We will try and, get ourselves a little bit better organized. So we educate ourselves and we understand the proper protocol, what this meeting is for, what you're discussing. And I understand the restrictions of every single item in your agenda that you're addressing. So in defense of Bobby and everybody else, we are at that point where
We understand that.
we're learning.
Yeah, you're learning.
And we're all learning proper protocol as well as we get through this, so.
And a lot of it too, you hear different things going on in different towns.
Yeah.
Josh works as the wetlands agent for another town, which does have its own bylaws. And as Nancy said, we've, 3 times or 4 times now, I think. 'Cause I've been on the board for over 40 years, and every time we come up and say we want our own wetlands bylaw, it gets voted down overwhelmingly at town meeting.
Well, look where
And
we
then-
live.
It won't this time.
Look where we
Oh,
live.
well, that's done.
I know.
Because
We wanna try for another one.
we're a water-rich area and everybody's affected by either, lives near the pond or near a wetland because it's Lakeville and it's,
Water.
yeah.
Water.
So could Nancy, to you, and this is a question, I'm not so sure how old this is.
Okay.
And research and digging things up, and let me tell you, I own my own business and I detest Facebook.
Okay.
But it's something that I open up every morning as I drink my coffee to see
All right.
what's going on. So about, when you were a selectman person, you made a comment to the residents of Lakeville that we've chosen to live here because it is indeed a wonderful place. Our natural resources are among the most beautiful in the entire state, and that is because of your continued dedication in choosing to protect them. And for this, we give you our heartfelt thanks. So I'm really not quite sure, was that addressed to the residents of Lakeville?
I don't know, but
Or
it's,
how old
I
it
mean,
was?
it's my
Mr.
same
Chair,
pride.
point of order.
It's
We're
about-
interviewing the
it's about 10
commission
years
now.
old. No, I'm not doing that, I'm just saying,
Why don't we
we
move
need
on?
reassurance, that's all.
Why don't we move along? The gentleman over there had a question.
Good evening to everyone on the board.
Have a seat.
My name's Stephen Damaris. I live at 44 Freetown, okay, right across from one of the proposed entrances to the new development. Obviously, I have a vested interest in what goes on in the town. I'm fairly new. I've only been here 8 years. Moved here for sure many of the reasons that you all did. Okay, it's a rural town. It appealed to me. I looked for 9 years before I bought my house. I'm not going to give you a pistol about it, but it took a long time to find someplace that I wanted to move my family and raise a family that I didn't have at the time, and I have that. When I received notice of the delineation, before I even knew what was going there, I said, "Oh, this isn't good. Someone wants to build on that piece of property." I've hiked back there in the previous years. I'm not very familiar with it, but I understand the overgrowth and the general, wetness of the soil and the ledge and everything else that's back there. It's a great piece of property as far as wetlands go and wildlife goes. I don't think anything should ever be built on it, but that's my opinion. So I'm not going to run through everything. You know how passionate we are about it. I'd love to see it just be the way it is forever, okay? But that's not my call. I can't make that decision. My question is, and again, I'm learning. I'm new to all this. This is one of the first public meetings I've ever attended. What is your jurisdiction or your power to either stop this, if in a very rudimentary way to say it? Do you have the power to say, listen, these are wetlands that should not be disturbed. No amount of mitigation is going to fix what we have disturbed, because you can take, I don't know what's there approximately for wetlands there, real rough numbers. 80 acres, do you know? Approximately.
Off the top of my head.
Okay.
There's a lot.
Just looking at the plans, I'm gonna say maybe 80 or 90, whatever, 80 acres, we'll shoot for 80. If you have to disturb 20 acres of that and then rebuild it somewhere else, is that the same as leaving it there? Can you take wetlands, and I looked at all the, the plot plans and the paths for the roads and everything else. Can you take a piece of property such as that, and even though you remove wetlands here and rebuild them here, is it the same when you put hundreds of thousands of square feet of impenetrable surface over the top of what was there? In my opinion, it's not. Just the same way you can't take 20 acres of wetlands and put them in downtown New York, It doesn't matter that they're 20 acres of wetlands, the surrounding ecostructure will not support that. If you take, in my opinion, again, I'm not a professional, if you take the amount of property that's there and you stick 200 units of living there at whatever density it is, that's something that no matter where you mitigate and rebuild, you've disturbed it permanently and you can't change that. With all that being said, where does this commission stand? Do you have the power to stop this? Should that be the case? Do you have the power to approve where no one can appeal that? I don't know what exactly your purpose is in the process.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
The Conservation Commission has the ability to enforce the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay.
We have the ability to, do more than that under a local bylaw, which
Which
as
we
you
don't
heard,
have.
has been denied.
Understood.
So our entire jurisdiction is the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay.
The Wetlands Protection Act says that there are defined resource areas, wetland, BVW, banks, rivers, streams, quite a few more. And the commission has a 100-foot buffer off of any of those resource areas that we would identify any projects going on within. 200 foot in front of riverfront.
Okay.
We do not know, we may have heard, but as of right now, we do not know what is going on that property.
Okay.
They have put in an application and they're asking the commission to either agree or disagree with their delineation of the resource areas.
Right, which is just outlining where wetlands exist and where they do not exist.
Right.
Okay.
And, the ability for them to identify that line has standards associated with it as well under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Sure.
Those standards are being upgraded by the state currently. This project will not see them. It probably won't have any effect on this project anyway.
Okay.
So if I were to speculate what was going on in there, and I don't know, because that's not what we're being asked to review right now.
Understood.
Let's say that there was a subdivision, okay? They would probably have to come to us for the subdivided roadway for us to approve whatever that looked like.
Okay.
And then any of those subdivided lots that are within the 100-foot buffer of our commission, they will also have to come to us to build on those lots as well.
Okay.
So we will oversee any construction within the 100-foot buffer to any of these wetlands. And we're being asked to identify what those lines are currently.
Okay. Gotcha. So one last question, and I'll be courteous of your time. I don't want to be here all night. Once those lines are set in stone, we have a peer review. Everyone agrees, the commission agrees that the peer review is acceptable and we move forward. Okay, here's the lines, here's the plan, that's where wetlands exist. This is where upland exists, we're good. Now, again, speculatively, we want to put subdivision in there. And you don't have to go into detail, but what is the criteria where, all right, now we have a line and there's supposed to be a 100-foot buffer, is that what you said? Okay.
We only have to
Or you
review
have
a project
jurisdiction within
within
100 feet.
100 feet.
Okay.
Right.
So from what I can see, there's going to be a lot of that if this proposed deal goes through. Is there a list of criteria that you all would look through to say, okay, this lot is good, this one isn't? Is it something where you go out and walk the property and say, okay, this looks like it's reasonable to mitigate these wetlands elsewhere? I just have no idea what the process involves. And that may be outside the scope of this meeting, and that's okay if it is, but I'm trying to learn.
It is a little bit outside the scope of what we are currently reviewing, but
Okay.
I will address your question
Well,
because I think
I
it's
do
important
appreciate
for
that.
everyone to know. They come back to us with a notice of intent. They are going to build a single family house with associated septic driveway and all that.
Okay.
They are asking us to review those plans and how they may affect the wetland resource. We would then issue an order of conditions.
Okay.
Our order of conditions could be an approval or a denial.
Yep.
The approval could have special conditions where we say, we're concerned about the amount of roof runoff coming off and we could direct it into a dry well. So there are special conditions that we can attach to any application that we approve.
Okay.
Where the special conditions get a little more robust is when the town has its own specific bylaw. But right now, we are really limited to what the Wetlands Protection Act says.
And just for your information,
Sure.
any decision this board makes can be appealed to DEP,
Right.
Okay.
to the state. Can be appealed to DEP.
If the public thinks that we have made an incorrect decision,
Which we're not saying, don't take us, we're not saying that.
Or if the developer believes. we have made the-
Yeah.
It can be appealed to
If we
the.
denied the entire thing, he can appeal to Mass DEP too.
Right.
Mass DEP will send out one of their representatives and they'll issue what's called a superseding order of conditions, which is basically saying the commission or the applicant was right or wrong in their determination.
That's it.
So,
Okay.
and you did mention wetland replication. So the math
Yes.
standard is a 1-to-1 ratio. The
Okay.
commission does not have to accept a 1-to-1 ratio.
Okay.
Normally, what I would suggest is that you don't accept a 1-to-1 ratio because it's likely that 100% of the wetland probably isn't going to replicate
Right,
well.
we usually ask for maybe 1.5.
Right, I heard-
because,
right.
you
I
know,
heard this gentleman,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I
talk-
forgot your name,
it's
mentioned
not-
2 to 1.
It's
Right.
really 100% effective.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we typically try and recommend that just because it's in the site's best interest, designing it economically and, so. absolutely.
Well, I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you for
Mr.
your
Chair, I
time.
think there was one more gentleman with his hand up.
Did we get you? Go ahead.
Michelle Belliard, I'm on Little Farm Road. Thanks for taking my question. So,
Have a seat.
yeah, might as well. Sure, thank you. So as I understand it, the developer was asked to make a determination on the waterways, the rivers, right? And so the ANRAD was the analysis that was performed to determine that, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's
So-
included in the ANRAD is the whole entire site with the rivers and streams included as part of that.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. And I see the criteria that you used. Lots of analysis looks. I'm sure it's accurate. I'm sure it's good. Right. But in the 310 regulations, right, there's a couple criteria that can be used to determine what's perennial and what's not perennial. And bullet A, so I believe bullet B and C1 were looked at, right? But bullet A says that a river or stream shown as perennial on the USGS map as perennial can be determined perennial, right? So online right now, which may not be the most recent map, but online right now, when I looked at USGS, there's perennial and non-perennial rivers shown, right? And I think that you're trying to determine this river as intermittent, I believe, right?
My
Based
understanding
on
was,
criteria.
Yeah, so the point that you just mentioned was that was
B
for
and C.
rivers when they are mapped as perennial would be assumed perennial. If they're mapped intermittent, it could be overcome with the stream stats, which is why the stream stats were included, basically verifying that this one wasn't in fact
And we're
mapped
talking
intermittent.
Cedar Swamp River.
Yep.
What is
Which,
perennial and what is it?
so perennial would mean that it flows year round.
Through Mr. Chair, please, through the chairman. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you. So a perennial river would be, it flows year round, and intermittent streams dries up, and there's different performance standards for each riverine development. So a perennial stream has a 200-foot riverfront area, which has its own set of regulations within it. You're only allowed to build within 10% of it without mitigating other parts of the riverfront area, whereas an intermittent stream is treated the same as wetlands themselves with a 100-foot buffer zone. So it's important to basically figure these out during the ANRAD phase. And what the commission has voted on tonight to get this peer reviewer involved, he's also going to take the stream stats data and do his own independent data collection of that stream. And in his report that he actually read to the commission similarly for another project, he would do that for this as well. And he would either affirm or disagree with the findings, and then the commission would take that and make their own ruling.
So I guess my specific question is, does this group have the ability to recognize, if it's in fact the case, that the river is classified as a perennial river if it meets section?
That's why we hire a peer review.
Yep, but I guess my question is, if it qualifies as intermittent under sections B and C, but perennial under sections A, do you have the ability to choose?
No.
Because they could be conflicting, right?
Right. And honestly, I don't know if you were asking if the board has the qualifications to do it or if we have the
No,
ability.
the ability to deny, right, the determination or say, no, we don't accept that because, sub-bullet A.
Yes.
Yeah.
We would have, if we did not agree with their interpretation of it and we determined that it was in fact the other, we could specify that in the ANRAD.
Right. I think we need to make it really clear that the peer reviewer works for us, period. All right, he's paid for by the developer, but works for us. And that's how it works. So he's working on our behalf.
The reason I ask is, so my property pretty much abuts that river, right? And so when I first bought the house a decade ago, I was like, oh, great, bunch of woods we can go walk through. I can't even get into the woods
Yeah.
because there's water.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, there's water
Everything's
there.
perennial
Nobody
right
can
now.
There's
right
water.
now.
And I
Yeah,
can't
there's
tell
water
you how
there
many
year-round.
times we've heard that with the people come in and saying, oh, look, the real estate agent never, told us about this, and there was a lot was supposed to be buildable, and it's not, and
Sure. And I understand purchasing property, you want to develop it, and you probably will in some capacity, and I get that. But I guess I'm just asking the group to, in whatever ability you can, have a conservative interpretation over the wetlands to make it work for the town and the developer and the wildlife.
have you been to DEP?
Their website?
No, I meant in person, no.
No, sir.
I recommend that you do. You can get a whole lot more, information that way, and more of a chance to, rely on their interpretation of what's going on.
And they have an office right here in Lakeville.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
You don't have to go there with pitchforks and torches, but if a bunch of you show up and make an appointment and say, okay, we have concerns, they'll make them more aware. Because they know that this is being applied for, but, they don't have the interest level in it that the abutters do.
And they can intervene and overturn findings. If we make a recommendation, they could force you otherwise, yes.
The other related question that may or may not be pertinent right now is in the site plan, which I don't think is part of the discussion right now. I did notice that there's drains adjacent to vernal pools. And I just had some concern that a drain would essentially drain the vernal pool. And so-
Right. We haven't seen any of those plans.
Yep, but just-
Unfortunately, we cannot comment
In
because
developing
we
plans.
don't know about them.
But there are
Cognizant of that.
they did show on the plan certified vernal pools,
Yes.
and they
Right.
have protection.
Yeah,
They're
there's 4 certified vernal pools.
And they are called out.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and I saw that. I noticed that they were adjacent to drains.
Yep.
It seemed counterproductive to them.
Yeah, so that's
It does.
exactly, kind of goes back to the earlier comment that if this development were to come for the site, then you guys would see that notice of intent application and then have
Right.
a chance to come and then vet that conversation at that time.
And
Just so you know, we've only seen a site plan. We haven't seen
Right.
anything showing what is going there or anything.
Right, sure. Okay.
Gentleman over there had a question?
Thank you.
Hi, John Gregory, Kelly Road, excuse me. So, 2 observations, and you're from Goddard Engineering.
Yes, I am.
So, there's a letter, October 10th, 2023, from Goddard to Paul Cousin. In that letter, page 1, it's all about and there's a wetland and vernal pool delineation. In that paragraph, it lists out certified vernal pools by a 4-digit number. It also shows the tagging at each pool with 3 letters and a number. When I go to the ANRAN site plan, and Bob, we talked about this in your office recently. When I go to the ANRAN site plan or the drawing that's in this 28-page PDF, the tagging on each vernal pool is different from the paragraph. I'd like to see that tagging the same, because when they're different, that to me cries out big red flag mistake. So I'd like to have the engineers correct the paragraph to match the drawing, or make the drawings match the paragraph.
Yeah, and that can be added. So I think what you might be seeing, and without seeing the plan, I cannot guarantee this, but speculating, when we go into the field and we delineate these areas, we hang our own ribbons in the field and we would tie a label that's specific to the area we found in the field. And then these certified vernal pools would have a number from the state that kind of identifies them based on the documentation. So sometimes what can happen is the engineers might take that data and include it in. So we can just make sure that every site plan, shows the correct labels to the areas we flag, just to make sure consistency is there.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Second question, there was a comment that this matter has been, or part of this matter has been sent to the DEP. Is there a DEP number, reference number that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
That's number 2.
192, was it, SE 192? What was the number?
0915.
0915.
192-0915.
Okay. Thank you.
And a point made, just the issuance of a number does not indicate for, against, or neutral. Just every application that comes to DEP, it gets a file number.
Well, they also make comments. If
Yeah,
they notice
yeah.
anything outstanding, DEP will put when they issue the number, they will also, hey, did you look at this, this, and this, so. Which you did,
So, we continuing?
trying, ready? All right, I make a motion that Bob, you okay?
Yeah, fine.
I make a motion that we continue off Freetown Street, SE 192, 915, to,
I don't think it has to be our next meeting.
I don't either. What's our first meeting in May? I didn't bring my phone in because it was dead.
The 23rd is the next one.
Our next meeting is
Then
May,
the 7th.
May 14th.
May 14th? At 7 o'clock, 7 p.m.
Is that okay? May 14th?
Yeah, as long
Is
as
that enough time?
It's not the 7th?
I understand that peer review proposal would come in, and if we sign it and get it back, the peer review is good to start, so that meeting would have no basis on that, correct?
Right, no,
Yeah, then
no.
that, by all means, that makes perfect sense to us.
Well, before you vote on the videos, could
All right, so continue to 5/14/24 at
One
7
second.
PM.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a
Discussion.
second, a discussion. You have a follow-up question?
Yes, it's my understanding that the Concom making decisions and then writing a letter back to the ZBA, Zoning Board of Approval, where the applicant has a comprehensive permit before the ZBA. And ZBA is gonna have a public hearing sometime in May.
May, right?
So would like someone here to speak to the timing, like this continuance you just approved, voted on for the peer review, no, for the next Concom meeting.
I wish we could, but that would be impossible to accurately give you a good time frame.
Well, so maybe I didn't make my question. How does the timing here relate to the public hearing that the zoning board is gonna have on
They
this whole
they usually have questions for us.
They usually come first, yeah.
Yeah. There's a reason they start with Conservation Commission in such an area.
Or it even could be sent back if we found it lacking in information.
We don't even know if we'll have the peer review back.
Right.
Actually, I think that, God, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had like 100 hours into the flagging and all the stuff that you did for the resource area, so we can't expect our peer reviewer is gonna you wouldn't want our peer reviewer to zip through it.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be, that's why I was concerned about
Not
the
to mention that
time.
we're in the busiest time of the year, and
Right.
most wetland scientists now are a few weeks backlogged, so we'd expect the proposal to come in, it could be a couple weeks, and then by the time he can get out to the site, he needs to walk the entire site, every flag. What usually happens is then we'll go back out there and go over the questions, so it can be a long review process, so it's tough to put a timetable on this time of year.
We could give the zoning board, if they ask us for our opinion, we give them an update and say we've hired a peer reviewer and it's an ongoing situation to know what's gonna come out of it.
Trying to understand the big picture. You guys have got a piece of it, so thank you.
Takes time.
Yeah. Well, and you've got a 180-day period, right?
Hey,
The applicant-
excuse me,
Oh, sorry.
you
Yeah.
can't talk to him
Okay.
directly through the
And
chairman,
the ZBA, well, I'll hold comments about the
right,
timing.
Okay.
yeah, for the
For that
ZBA,
board.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor, right, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, now the end of the discussion, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Great, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're making up for all that time.
I have to spend time with you guys just to make up for it. I still have more meetings to do, I promise. I'll pay my dues. Guys, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Will, we should have let you go first, sorry.
Bob, would you entertain taking something out of order?
Sure, we can do that.
I would suggest maybe we take Jillian Drive out of order.
Fair enough.
I think
It's,
it's a
only
COC,
a-
it should be very quick.
it shouldn't. All right. If you want to make a motion,
So I'll make a motion to take Jillian Drive, request for certificate of compliance out of order for Zenith Consulting.
I'll second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Trying to clear everything up.
Will Connolly, Zenith Consulting Engineers. So Environmental Partners Group went out to the site and did a site walk, and they had no comments about anything within the buffer zone to the wetland. They had a couple minor comments about, I think it was asphalt around the drainage structures. Those have since been taken care of, so if there's any questions.
Bob, did you do a site visit for this?
Yes, a couple, actually.
Okay.
Early on, I went out there with Jamie, and then I just, most recently, I just went out and did a follow-up. Everything looked to be in perfect shape.
So would you entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance?
Yes, I would.
Okay, I'll make a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for SE 192-655.
I'll second it.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
That was easy.
Thank you all.
Thought it might be.
Don't go anywhere.
22 Stetson.
All right, we have to vote to approve the new plan first, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to accept the new plan that was delivered to us tonight at our hearing. The plan title is Plan to Accompany a Notice of Intent, and with a revision date of April 9th, 2024.
I'll second.
Did you mention the name of the property?
I mentioned the
address?
name of the plan that we're accepting.
Okay.
I'll
All
say.
It is today's date.
22
is
Stetson Street.
Right,
Got
plan
it.
for 22 Stetson Street.
So we have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now, you've been turning stuff around on this lot, right? Relocating stuff, right?
So, Will Connolly, Zenith Consulting Engineers for the record. Since we last met, we have extended the silt sock line to the end of the driveway, wetland crossing, as requested. And we also received the letter from NHESP, which we did not have at the last meeting. So if there's any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I don't think we saw the natural heritage.
I have a copy of it if you would like.
Yep.
I got it.
You did?
Yep.
Oh, am I just missing it? Oh, I take it
Found it?
back. Got
Get
it.
it back?
Okay.
Will not adversely affect the telling, not result in a take.
I put the circled item right here.
What's the
Mr.
sticky
Director,
for?
that's a new name.
Just to, because they had not adversely affect.
I
So
got
it's an important sheet. Avalanche.
So show us where you extended the line.
So here, before the silt sock ended, kind of
Right on the
right
corner.
around like wetland flag 111, and we just extended it all the way down to the end of the wetland crossing along the driveway.
Wetland flag 111.
So now
Green.
it goes to about wetland flag 19 on the west side and wetland flag 29 on the eastern side.
magnifying glass to meetings.
Well, I'm looking at the old one trying to
guys
figure
all
out.
11 by 17.
So you guys all set?
Yeah.
I think so. I think our major concerns were the NHESP letter and the erosion controls.
Right, just running it,
Right.
Yep,
so the stuff will get past the wetland.
Nancy, did you draft the motion for this one?
We can just see if you guys are ready.
Sure.
Oh, okay, I thought you said, go ahead.
Any more questions?
no, well, I just wanna make sure Lori references the right plan, so I'm gonna put it in my, motion. I make a motion that we close the hearing and issue an order of conditions to 22 Stetson Street. Oh, SC 192. Where's my agenda? It's not the agenda?
916, I've got
What is it, 9/16?
916,
916.
yeah.
And the plan is today's date, 4/9/24.
Close the hearing and issue an order of conditions with our regular standard Concom conditions with an additional condition to make sure that the plan dated 4/9/24 per Concom comment is referenced in that order of conditions.
Huh?
We kind of lost you in the.
What?
Okay.
Could you repeat that?
Could I repeat that? Okay, so close the hearing and issue an order of conditions with all our standard Concom conditions
Yeah,
with an additional condition to make sure that the most current plan dated 4/9/24, and then it says per Concom comment, so it was a plan they put in after we made comments, is included
okay, all right.
under that order of conditions.
Good.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much for your
Thanks, Will.
time.
Good night.
Sorry that you had to.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Okay.
Consider it a learning experience, Will, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, we wanted to put you on first, but Niles,
Yeah.
Niles wanted you to sit there.
they said, give him the word.
Yeah, did you do something bad? Oh, there's my agenda. All right, what are we up to? Oh my God. All right, 3 more.
Last one.
Last one is right. You guys all set?
Yep.
Okay, number 8 is 3 Mona Street, which is an RDA, and this is a continuation from our last meeting. Did you have anything? I'm sorry?
We're not the applicant, but we are here for that meeting, so,
So the applicant's not here.
yeah.
Yeah. We can't vote on anything in the absence, but if you have new information or some correction that we need to be aware of, we'll listen to it.
Good evening, my name is Rachel Watsky from Watsky Law out of Dedham, Massachusetts. I'm here on behalf of Adele Assad, who is the abutter.
Can we just hold for a minute to see if we have any new information about the original? Isn't he gonna file a notice of intent? Did we get that information from Lori say that today? That Carlos Fragata?
No, that's still ongoing.
Okay.
We're researching it with DEP.
Okay. All right. Because,
But we haven't received any new information, if that's your
okay.
question.
I thought they had agreed to submit a notice of intent.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen that information.
Well, I don't
I
think
think
it's
they
come through yet.
should.
I think we talked about it at the office today.
Oh,
All right.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know. I just wanted to
okay.
make sure that that didn't happen, and if it does happen, that we need to include the violation.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Okay. All right.
For now,
All
let's keep
right.
that separate.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I just
No,
thought
I-
there might
I
be
think
new information
we're-
before you.
We're all on the same page.
Okay.
I had asked Lori last week if there was new information, because all I had was the original submittal, and I've been communicating with Carlos Fragata about Mr. Assad's Chapter 91 license, and in the process of discussing that, was asking about this neighboring property, and he'd mentioned he thought it was appropriate because of the fill to have a notice of intent and a WW01 engineered license plan, not just a simplified license application. So I was trying to figure out what's actually happened.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
Yeah, we spent half our time doing that, yeah.
It's a really fun experience for everyone. I was a wetland consultant before I became an attorney, so same deal.
Okay.
But most of our concern is trying to keep this very, very focused just on knowing that for the standards of RDA versus NOI, is this work, your main question, your concern is, does this require notice of intent? Our assertion is that the full scope of your consideration should be including that fill, that area of expansion. And with that, it is appropriate for an NOI. If the property undergoes the notice of intent process for that fill and the dock and the boat lift, no problems here. We are happy to have that project done. We just want to make sure that it's done properly. So I do have some aerials that show what I looked at historic aerials through Google Earth to find the original timing of when that expansion happened. I can certainly share those. It seems to have been July 2016 that the fill was put in.
The concrete part?
Correct, yeah. Yeah.
So, I would think that should, email that information to Bob so that we all get it before the next meeting, especially since the person
they're
isn't
not
here
here,
tonight.
yeah.
Just
So,
for a point of order, did we continue them to tonight?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so they just decided not to come. Did we hear anything from them?
They didn't have anything to tell us.
Okay.
3 more.
All right, then,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So I would agree with you. The work that they did needed a notice of intent when it was originally done. Unfortunately, the town of Lakeville is limited in its staffing and this went unnoticed.
yeah.
We're trying to correct it now.
Okay.
And I won't speak for the commission, but I would require a notice of intent for the enforcement of this violation to be addressed.
Well, it sounds like he may be doing it,
And if he is doing it, then we're in the right
and
direction.
we're all in
And
agreement.
everybody's happy.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we don't see something from him in a timely manner, I think it would be appropriate for Bob to issue an enforcement order.
And ultimately, it's Carlos and DEP that are gonna make the determination who they're gonna go with.
Yeah, so my understanding from Carlos's perspective is that they also are limited in their staff. They can't run around issuing enforcement orders, so he would love to see this come as a Chapter 91 application, but he doesn't have the bandwidth to issue an enforcement order, so he's relying on the commission to do that side of things if that's what it comes to.
So people are bandwidth now.
Apparently, the best word I can think of,
We are all just
So-
slaves to our electronic controllers.
unfortunately.
Nancy, were you able to talk to Carlos? I know we left our last meeting with
Yeah,
some
no,
concerns.
I wasn't able to talk to Carlos myself.
Okay, so I was able to talk to Carlos. It was for something unrelated, but we related it back to
Okay.
this. Our former board member made it a great point to say we are not the judicial board of docs.
Right.
And that, it's a little bit of time wasted for us to play that role. But with that being said, I don't really disagree with his understanding of saying that everyone should try to get along and enjoy what resource they have. Carlos had suggested to me, and maybe this is something that the residents of Mona Street may entertain, is a lot of these docks are probably unpermitted and not out of the realm of us issuing enforcements for them being there. Even, even if they do have a chapter, if they have a waterways license and they still didn't come before us, it's still an enforcement that we can pursue. And if they do have, or if they don't have a chapter or a waterways license and they haven't come before us, it's something that we could issue an enforcement on right now. So I believe that there is a homeowners association for this area.
Yeah.
And I would maybe question the board if we would entertain a notice of intent to clean up all the docks within that homeowners association. Have them come in with a engineer, lay out where the docks are located, and have them submit an application to Waterways saying there are 10 docks in the area, let's get them all licensed.
Is that how many there are?
I'm just throwing out a number. It's 3 through X, I
There's at
guess.
least 3 plots.
Yeah, there's,
Right.
So the only question I have with that is, there's a lot of docks on Long Pond.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Are we gonna selectively enforce this? Or are we gonna go out to everybody?
We've done roughly 6.
Well, one of the complaints I've had over many, many years is when we issue an order of conditions, the sign's gotta go up in the piece of land so that people see the sign.
Mhm.
They've never done that with 91s. And I said, there should be something on the front of the property, on the road, this is legal, and then something on the pier or dock or whatever itself, just a metal tag, so that
It's
when
not a
you're in
bad
the
idea.
pond, you can tell whether that's permitted or not.
So
They've never changed that.
that is something we could do in our order of conditions.
Right.
We could make it a special condition that
Sure.
they tag or license the pier and have, some type of placard saying that it's licensed. To your point, there's nothing that says, if we do it for one house, we have to do it for every house. It's almost like the argument of setting a precedent.
No, but are you exposing the town to
Nope.
you're
No,
not
we could,
selectively enforcing against
well,
certain
I mean, we're kind
neighborhood
of.
isn't?
Neighborhoodism.
If we
Well,
adopt that,
that's what it is.
we're dead because there are so many
Right.
I mean,
undocumented.
Bob could spend a whole year issuing enforcements on.
we could go in my
unlicensed
boat
docks.
from dock to
Yeah.
dock to
Yeah.
dock.
You're right, we could.
If you're up for it, I'll
Joe
drive you
John,
around.
do you ever see on a dock any indication? No.
I have a 91 license.
Right, I know.
Nobody required me to put it up.
Right,
So I
which is
didn't
a
think-
failing in the law. I've been
Right.
saying it for 20 years.
Right.
But I guess my point of this is, it looks like you're here for one Mona
One
Street?
Mona Street,
Okay,
yes.
it looks like one Mona Street is clearly affected by the dock placement at 3 Mona Street. And you could probably make the argument that 3 Mona Street is clearly influenced by the dock placement at 5 Mona Street. So getting an engineered plan and an application in front of us and in front of DEP to say, this is where all the docks are located. We understand that, maybe they don't fall, I don't even want to say within the regulations, but being able to clean up all the docks cleans up one issue. And it's within the ability of our commission to do so. Whether they want to work together is a different story. But my thought is, you're all going to need an engineered site plan.
Mhm.
You're all going to have to come in front of the commission. Why not share the cost of that burden? If that's the route we want to go. Just specifically for 3 Mona Street, there's a violation there. The work that was done needed a notice of intent, and I think they owe us that. If they, is there a homeowners association?
Yeah, he's in the butter.
Yeah, please.
Yes, so it gets worse because the president of the
Oh, it gets worse, the magic.
You have to identify
Oh,
yourself, please.
my name is Adel Asad. I'm
All right,
owner
let
of One
me-
Mona Street.
But before you get carried away here, let me warn you to stay on topic, okay? Because we're on thin ice right now.
Yeah, our
everything nice.
discussion of this
No,
actually.
Nothing. The only thing I'm gonna say is that the president of the association that we're looking to enforce, he's the 15 Mona Street.
He's 5.
he's at 5.
And
Oh.
3 is the treasury of the association. And the one that was broke, start all these problems that renting the side of this is the vice president, which is Ralph Roberts. So
the plot.
when you start to say the association gonna help us, this is where we are.
The British have a great term, sticky wicket.
Yeah.
So,
So
seeing
let's
as
cut-
that didn't show up tonight, we just need to continue it. You're gonna forward the,
Yeah,
Whatever you
I
have
can
to
I can
Bob, so
forward
we
the
can-
aerials.
we
I do
review
have,
the aerials
Did-
before the next meeting.
Do we have to continue it?
Yeah.
We
Do
could-
you have something else you wanted to?
no, I mean,
All right.
There's always something,
Well, yeah,
but I'm trying to keep my focus very narrow to what you're.
Couldn't we
Okay.
just require a notice of intent?
We could issue a positive determination. I mean, they
had his
requested the
chance.
continuance, and they
Not showing
failed
up?
to show.
Why do we have to continue it?
I don't know. He called and asked if there was any reason why, and
Okay.
it would have been up to us to, at that time, to say, for whatever reason, you're either gonna continue or not. So I think we can't. I
All right,
don't think we
so
can
So
do it.
there was a discussion about
There was.
continuing from tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh.
Let's
Did
continue.
he ask, you're supposed to ask for a continuance in writing, did they ask for a
He
continuance?
came to the office.
And said he wasn't gonna show up?
No, do you want me to show up? Because I don't have anything.
Oh,
Now, his original was only an RDA, right?
That's
Yes.
right. So I don't think we can, in his absence, I don't think we can take any kind of vote or action
Okay.
like that.
so we'll continue it.
Fair enough.
So I make a motion that we continue 3 Mona Street to 423, I'm sorry. Continue to 4/23/24 at 7 PM.
I'll second it.
Bob,
I'm sorry.
all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And we have no minutes that I know of.
Motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, sorry,
Ah.
sorry.
It's all right.
Couple of questions to resolve. Go ahead.
So, we have a new board member, we have a new associate member, and we have an open seat. Do we want to make a recommendation to the select board to appoint him to our open seat,
Appoint who?
The associate member?
our associate?
No.
Why?
Not at this time.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree to do it at this time because, I plead the fifth. But
we should-
I have a really good reason, I just would like to save it for a little while.
Yeah, let's put it off a little while, if you're okay with that.
I was just asking the board what they want to do. I mean,
Yeah,
we
well,
have
we
an open
voted to
seat.
put him on
and-
as an associate, let's see what happens, let's try to,
Give him 6 months for an associate, sure.
Yeah, in the past, we've tried to do that, is get somebody with experience that we could, build on.
Yeah.
And before we close, I discussed this with you, I think, earlier. We have an account at the public library in my late wife's name for buying stuff for conservation.
Oh,
I
really?
think we ought to get hold of MACC, Mass Association of Conservation Commissions, and get 3 or 4 copies of their handbook. Because we have people on the board that have never looked at one of those. And I think they're good resources. I mean, it's, okay, we have the law, you can look up the law, but the handbook explains how all this stuff works.
I don't think we need 3
So,
or 4, but I
well,
think a couple would
there,
do.
there's an issue.
What?
I reference the handbook all the time.
Yeah.
And they've since moved to an electronic handbook, and it's $70 a year. So you pay a yearly subscription.
Oh,
Yeah. So you can't even. I don't think you can get a printed version of it anymore.
What, the
so
library,
they're the-
people go to the library all the time to use a computer. We
Yeah.
could buy a subscription
Now
for
you
the
have-
Well, but
library.
it's the subscription is tied to a username and password.
Oh, jeez.
Sure, you couldn't, I mean, we could call up and ask if it's at the library, if they,
Get a secondhand one. I'm just kidding.
So the state has become Microsoft.
Yeah.
No, just the MACC. It's a great idea. They do have other publications that are
Oh, yeah.
probably worth looking at.
yeah.
Enforcements,
We'll look into
buffer zone guide. I mean, there definitely are publications that they
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
The handbook is a great resource. But yeah,
I've been thinking about this, and I just keep forgetting about it. We get the money, a couple of grand sitting there for that purpose,
It's a great idea.
it's a great idea.
They have some kind of,
I don't know why they don't try to get a lot of libraries to just do it and figure out a way how it could be done through the library.
I think.
$70 a year per commission member, per
We-
commission is a lot of money.
351 cities and towns in the state of Massachusetts, I think
And-
somebody ought to
Right.
broach that
We've got
idea.
money in the budget that
But-
we're not spending. It's
That's what they're
sitting
hoping
there.
for.
With that being said, our wetland protection fees are only usable for the enforcement of the Wetlands Protection
Right.
Act.
Right.
So
But our local fees
are
are different. I already asked that question. Our local fees that
are
we-
they separated into a separate account?
I
Okay.
believe they are.
If they are, then we don't need to.
Right.
But I mean, with that being said, we have the wetland fees that can only be used for
Right.
the wetlands.
So the fees
protection.
could apply to that membership?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
That's one of the reasons I set up that account. I think it's got over a couple grand in it. And I mean, there's really no limits. It's,
So let's figure it out.
Yeah.
So let's
Yep.
see if MACC would have an avenue for it to go to the library.
Should.
I think that's a great idea. All right.
Good job.
Now we
Time for
good?
one quickie?
Sure.
Yeah.
I went to 24 and 26 Fuller Shores.
ooh, what's,
Rick Charton from,
have we dealt with this property before?
his property and this developer. I'm drawing a blank now. Let me get
Somebody
back to-
building a house?
No, he's a septic tank.
Oh.
He wants to put in a tight tank in place of a full system.
Is it a year-round house?
Yeah, well, it will be when.
Oh.
this is done.
Small lot?
The question is, they want to know whether or not they get away with an RDA.
No.
Since it's a
No.
I wanted, I hate to use the word policy, I know you don't like it.
Yeah.
But just for the sake of consistency.
I think we've said that
do we
already. Yeah,
just-
all septic
all
systems need an NOI.
Regardless of,
Yep.
and I just wanted to get the feel for the commission.
Yep.
If you still thought that way, because we've had a few since then, and, all right, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's all I
Especially on the
needed to
water.
know.
So it's a septic repair within 100 feet of the water?
Originally, this has evolved over time. And there's, again, two,
Two homes?
yes.
Two houses?
One was going to be a septic system, the other was going to be a tight tank. It's in a kind of tough. So that's why they proposed it. They submitted an application with us and never did anything. They put it on hold. So it's been sitting there for 3-4 years.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really? I don't
So now they want to
don't remember
activate it.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. I'd say an NOI.
Yeah.
I do too, but
Yeah.
I'm
like I
guessing
said,
the
I wanted
septic's
to-
failed right now, and all the sewage is going in the lake.
It's really close. It's maybe, we were talking about earlier, 20-30 feet
Yeah.
from the house.
Yeah.
I'm assuming small piece of land, right?
Oh, yeah, 2 little cottages side by side.
Full of shores. Can't even picture.
We've done just
Did
about
you
every
go down
house on
Fuller
Fuller
Shores Road,
Shores.
or did you go down Nelson Shore when you went to look at it?
Not Nelson Shore, no.
You went down Fuller Shores Road,
Should take a left or
so
a
it'll
right?
be on that side.
Yeah. some-
Is it on that end road?
Yeah.
What's the name of that road? Oh, is that Fuller Shores? You go down Fuller Shores and there's a road that connects to Nelson.
Yeah.
Right.
What's the name of that road? There is a name.
Bartelli.
Yeah,
No,
no.
Bartelli's before
Bartelli
you
shoots
get
at
there,
my
right,
house,
right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, it's beyond that.
Okay,
It's almost at the end.
okay.
So anyway,
I remember the house.
that's
So,
all I've got.
Actually, I thought he was gonna say
motion
that.
to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.